Hey, what's going on, everyone? Thank you for coming to watch. I've got guys an update on Hurricane Debby. All right, so the last time we talked was, I believe, 2 days ago. All right, I apologize greatly about not being able to get an update yesterday. I had my brother's birthday party. We were kind of just hanging out with the family, so I apologize about that. But we need to get straight into this video because, as you can see, Debby is getting ready to make landfall in Florida, and we've gotten a ton of information since I last talked to you guys. So we're gonna go over just the last final information, and I'm just gonna make sure that everybody understands how to take this storm when it officially makes landfall. But as you can see, just starting out with our low level water vapor satellite, we have a lot of dry air that Debbie's around. So Debbie is really trying to find a source of moist air, and it's got a lot of moist air that's to the east of it, so that's what it's working with. But you've got a lot of low level dry air in these regions out here across sections of the western Gulf of Mexico as well as the southern United States. But Debbie's growing, Debbie's just sucking up all this moisture and all the warm waters out there that are just off the coast of Florida, and moisture meaning all the moisture that's off the coast here of the east coast of Florida. All right, but these SSTs are extremely warm. Obviously, we know 32-degree Celsius sea surface temperatures gets you a big hurricane. That's what we have here. But as you can see, all right, it's got a pretty good spin to it. We're starting to see some big time thunderstorms out there in Florida. So let's get right into the video. All right, so taking a look here at your current National Hurricane Center forecast. So as you can see, Debby is officially a hurricane. It is a 75-mile-an-hour hurricane. So this is a Category 1 hurricane with a minimum central pressure at around 985 millibars. So a strengthening hurricane, very close to landfall. This is as of 10:56 p.m. So just a few minutes ago. All right, its movement is north at 10 knots, which is 12 miles per hour. So it's just sitting over these waters, soaking up as much as it can of just these extremely warm sea surface temperatures. But what the National Hurricane Center says is that Debby becomes a hurricane as it approaches the northeastern Gulf Coast. It'll bring a major flood threat to the southeastern United States this week. All right, so we're going to go over all the details on what the National Hurricane Center has said about Debby in their latest forecast. So just to zoom in for a quick, closer look. All right, this is the current satellite loop of Debby. As you can see, she's really starting to pop up some big time convection, and you've got a pretty well defined center of spin or circulation. All right, you've got two sides of the storm that are popping off some really good convection. You got the far western and eastern side of the storm really popping off those thunderstorms. Look at these outer bands, guys. These outer bands are just absolutely thriving out here. You got big time thunderstorms with these outer bands. We've seen a big time tornado threat with these outer bands, but man, I mean, this storm is really starting to hit those, hurricane characteristics, and it almost looks like for a second we have an eye trying to develop. So I think if this hurricane is going to develop a little bit more and get a little bit stronger, we may actually end up with an eye just before this makes landfall. So just a really strong storm, strong hurricane that's making its way over to Florida. But you can see pretty much the entire northern half of the state is engulfed in all this rain and all this tropical moisture and stuff. All right, but we're talking about some areas that are really getting hit hard already, and it's not even landfall yet. So we're going to go over here to the official cone. This is the projected track for Debby. All right, from the National Hurricane Center. So this is the current wind field estimate as of 11 p.m. today. We have tropical storm winds getting all the way into the west coast of Florida, and then just this little brown shade here shows where the hurricane force winds are estimated to be. Notice how that's only for the east side of the storm. So that means that the east side is going to be the strongest side. That's worse because that's going to be the initial hit for you guys out there in Florida. So I mean, it could be good in some ways, bad in some ways. So it's going to start out. The first round of the eye wall that you're going to get is the eastern eye wall. If you're, in the direct path of the storm, you're going to get the eastern eye wall. All right, that's going to be the roughest part of the storm. Then you're going to enter the eye, the calm, the center, the quiet, and then you're going to have to go through the other side of the eye wall. Now, as of right now, no hurricane wind field, no hurricane force winds are estimated to be on that western eyewall. So it's only this little pocket of winds that's currently over or at hurricane status. All right. So, not the strongest of hurricanes, but still a extremely dangerous one. You have hurricane warnings, obviously, in the red shade, and so that's pretty much been there for a long enough time. And then you've got those tropical storm warnings going down the coast here in the blue. So, as you can see, we are expecting this to make landfall as a hurricane, and then by 8 p.m. tomorrow, this will be back down to a tropical storm. All right, as it makes its way through the border of northern Florida into Georgia. Right, this is going to stay as a tropical storm, and then we're expecting it to make it's going to make its way off the coast of Georgia and South Carolina, and it's going to make a sharp it's going to make like a sharp left turn, and it's going to start going north. So it's going to go from going west to east to north. All right, and it's going to start heading up into the Carolinas. It's going to make a secondary landfall, and then that's going to be around 8 p.m. Wednesday. So Wednesday night into Thursday morning, we're going to start to see the storm really slow down. And we're thinking that it's going to make another landfall sometime around 8 p.m. Thursday. And by Friday, this will be a tropical depression entering North Carolina. So this is the current cone, pretty smudged up because the storm is going to really slow down here. But this is the big thing that we got to look at. This is the landfall that we're expecting in Florida today. So we look at the current rainfall forecast. All right, this honestly, this storm could really produce catastrophic flooding. All right, you look at the rain totals from the National Hurricane Center, and they are just record breaking. I mean, look how much rain they're showing. All right, so Jacksonville, you're going to 8 to 12 inches of rain. Anybody inside of this orange shade here, I'll circle it. Anybody inside of this orange shade here, we're expecting up to a foot of rainfall, and that's a massive area. That's all the way from Wilmington down to Tampa Bay. All right, so millions of people expected to see over 8 inches of rain in a very short amount of time, and then you got into these red shades, and that's where you're talking about a foot plus. We're expecting 12 to 16 inches for areas to the west of Jacksonville in Florida. Here, anybody in this red shade, all right, and then we go into South Carolina. Also, look at Georgia here, guys. I mean, you see a lot of these reds going into Georgia. This kind of goes with the pathless storm. But then you get into the dark reds. These are the maroons. Okay, this is where we're expecting 16 to 20 inches of rain. You heard me, 20 inches of rain. And I think they did say that some spots, yep, right here, local amounts of 30 inches are expected through Friday morning. They said local amounts up to 30 inches are expected. Okay, not possible, expected. So what they're saying is that Tropical Storm Debby is expected to produce rainfall totals of 6 to 12 inches with maximum amounts of 18 inches across portions of central and northern Florida and southeastern North Carolina through Friday morning. This rainfall will likely result in areas of considerable flash and urban flooding with significant river flooding expected where across portions of southeast Georgia and South Carolina. 10 to 20 inches of rainfall with local amounts of 30 inches are expected through Friday morning. This potentially historic rainfall will likely result in areas of catastrophic flooding. This will likely result in areas plural of catastrophic flooding. Apologize about that. That is just unreal. That is insane. But anybody from Charleston to Savannah, I mean, you've got to get out. You have time, but your time's running out. You have to get out. You cannot survive up to 30 inches of rain. I mean, you can't survive that because you got yourself on the coastline, so you've got to deal with storm surge. But then you've got the 30 inches on top of that. I mean, you just can't survive that. So you gotta go. All right, it's gonna be too dangerous. But man, is that just absolutely insane. So once again, if you're in this orange shade, we're expecting 8 to 12 inches. All right, if you're in the red shade, 12 to 16, and then finally in the maroon shade, 12 to 16 to 20 with localized amounts of up to 30 possible. All right, This honestly feels like talking about a major winter storm. All right, and even these totals are super high for winter storm, but no, these are rain totals, which is just absolutely bizarre. So in this gold shade here, we're expecting 6 to 8 inches. That's for like areas like Tampa Bay. You got areas south of Jacksonville, near Tallahassee. All right, Augusta. You've got areas south of Raleigh. All right, areas to the south of Charlotte. So anybody in this gold shade, we're expecting 6 to 8 inches. In the yellow shade, we're expecting 4 to 6, and in the green shade, this dark green shade, 2 to 4, and then obviously in the light green shade, 1 to 2 inches. All right. So yeah, I mean, you go over here to the Weather Prediction Center. This is their excessive rainfall outlook, and as you can see, I mean, it's pretty much self explanatory. We have a high risk. This is a level 4 to 4 risk. Not for severe weather. This is for flash flooding. So that means that there is at least a 70% chance that there will be flash flooding within, I believe this is 25 miles of a given location. 40 kilometers. So, yes, 25 miles of a given location. All right. And so, anybody in this pink shade, that's a level 4 to 4 risk. So, I mean, that's a almost, I can tell you that's almost a guarantee. If you're still out here, if you're staying, which I say if you're in the high risk, you should pretty much just get out. But if you're staying in the high risk, I mean, it's almost a guarantee that you're going to see some flash flooding, and it's pretty likely you're going to get that your road itself is going to get flooded because of just how much rain is going to come down. Personally, if I were them, I would really push this farther north as well, at least extend it, all right? But you've got areas just to the west of Jacksonville. You've got Savannah, you've got Charleston, south of Augusta, all right, to the east of Tallahassee. But anybody in this pink shade, that's level 4 to 4 risk. That's a high risk, at least a 70% chance of seeing flash flooding within 25 miles of a given location. If you're in the red shade, that's where you have a moderate risk. This includes a much bigger area, including Wilmington, Augusta, Tallahassee, Jacksonville, Tampa Bay. You've got north and west of Orlando. All right, so anybody in this red shade that's a moderate level 3 to 4 risk for flash flooding, at least a 40% chance. I'll tell you, I've been in a moderate risk before. It's no fun. All right, every road was flooded. It was just impossible to get through travel. This is exactly what's going to happen. All right, and with this kind of storm, you could even have more rain than I got. I was in smack dab in the center of a moderate risk, and I got 5 inches of rain. Flooding was terrible. All right, think of these areas getting 10 plus inches. I mean, think of how bad it could be. That's double the amount of rain I got. So you just gotta imagine how bad it could be. So if you're down the line and you've got enough time that you could get out, I would honestly do it. You know, as long as you're not on the immediate coastline in the moderate risk, okay, you're taking some chances. You can't just don't travel. But you know, obviously, if you're not leaving, but if you are leaving, all right, I think that's not like it's not a bad idea because honestly, I do think that the roads are just going to be an absolute mess out here. All right, and then finally in the slight risk, you've got a yellow shade here. This is for all the surrounding areas. At least a 15% chance of flash flooding, and then the marginal risk is in the green shade. All right, so for the last part of the update, we'll take a look at one more thing after this, but we'll look at the peak storm surge forecast one last time for Florida. All right, we are expecting from Mexico Beach to Indian Pass 1 to 2 inches of 1 to 2 feet of storm surge. Keep getting used to the rainfall totals. Up towards the Okeechobee, or I am not saying that right, Ochelani River. Please correct me in the comments. That was embarrassing. 4 to 6 feet of storm surge is expected. That's pretty major storm surge, and it's pretty interesting how you go from the jump of 1 to 2 feet to 4 to 6, and it's almost like there's a little crater here in Florida. Okay, this little like area here is actually gonna be okay because Debbie is coming up through here, all right, and the waves are going to be coming up like this. So if Debbie's coming up through here, you're gonna really Debbie's coming up through here. So if you're gonna get Debbie coming out through the center of the Big Bend of Florida, you're not gonna get any storm surge that's too major past here. All right, it's all gonna be kind of centered in this little dome or like bowl, I'd like to call it. So that's kind of how I'd like to depict it. But anyways, you got 4 to 6 feet of storm surge out here in this yellow shade. All right, and then here we go. We get into the big numbers out here near Yankeetown, all the way from the Oak. I'm not gonna pronounce that right. Oklachone, Oklachone River. Please correct me once again. Out from there to Yankeetown, we're expecting 6 to 10 feet of storm surge. All right. Evacuations are pretty much mandatory, I think, in this entire area. So, if you're not out, I mean, that's just a bad mistake that you're doing. So, the only way to really protect your life is to is to spend your time on the highest level of your room because of your house, because I can almost guarantee if you're living on the coastal regions of uh, the Big Bend of Florida and you're in the 6 to 10, I mean, I can almost guarantee you it's going to be up to your doorstep, and it could get in your house. All right, most likely will. All right, but from Yankeetown to Chassahowitzka, you're talking about 4 to 6 feet of storm surge. From Chassahowitzka down to middle of the Longboat Key, still 3 to 5 feet of storm surge, and then down towards Englewood, we get down to 2 to 4, and then finally from Englewood to Flamingo, all right, you're talking about 1 to 3 feet of storm surge. Tampa Bay, we're expecting 3 to 5, and Charlotte Harbor, 1 to 3 feet of storm surge. Now, up to Georgia, all right, we're expecting so far. This could definitely change. We're expecting 2 to 4 feet of storm surge all the way from the mouth of the St. Mary's River all the way to the South Santi River. All right, so um, big time storm surge expected with Debbie. All right, if you're in the 6 to 10 and you're not evacuated, I'm wishing you luck. But please just stay on the highest floor of a sturdy building for your protection of your life, because I can almost guarantee you're gonna get water rushing through the lowest level of your home. And um, if you're close to the beach or whatever. But to kind of wrap this up before we take a look at our next update, with the rain and the storm surge, if you're at the coastline, impacts are going to be worst. All right, it comes with most hurricanes, almost pretty much all hurricanes. Impacts are always worst at the coast, and this hurricane, it's going to be the flooding. I can guarantee you, the flooding is going to be the issue. All right, and just with the amounts of rainfall that we're talking about, you put a foot of rainfall over 6 to 10 feet of storm surge. That's another foot of water. All right, so we're talking about feet of water, not inches. There's going to be feet of water in some places. So some places are gonna, they're gonna go through catastrophic flooding. I am expecting catastrophic flooding. We could be talking about flash flood emergencies. All right, big time flooding is expected. There's no turning around. It's going to happen, and it's happening quick. We're already seeing flooding happening out there, but with the storm surge and the amount of rainfall on top of it, this just calls for a potentially historic hurricane. And then for the Carolinas and Georgia, I mean, just the rainfall is absolutely insane, and it's just really not looking good. So, for the last part of the update, we will quickly take a look at this cam from Radar Omega. This is actually a Project Mesovort cam. They put a lot of cams, webcams out there into areas that are expected to be hit by hurricanes, and you're able to look at them live and to get a look at what's going on the ground level. And as you can see, this camera is shaking quite a bit. You've got a lot of leaves down here, a lot of small limbs, a lot of branches down. I mean, yeah, you've got countless numbers of them. You got one, two, you got three, you got four, you got a ton over here. All right. If you could see better, we do have some pretty good waves that are starting to come on shore, and if you look very carefully, you can actually see these palm trees really swaying well. So I mean, this camera is getting absolutely rocked. All right, this camera is shaking quite a bit, and you've got torrential rain coming down right now. So you can just see how harsh conditions are, and this is not even close to the center of the hurricane. This is the eye of the hurricane. All right, this is where the pocket of the strongest winds are. All right, and that cam is all the way out here near Cedar Key. So you can just see that conditions are really quickly deteriorating. I also want to note that these outer bands have been producing tornadoes all day, and they still are. This one is a radar indicated tornado warning, thankfully, but the spin up tornadoes. All right, look at this rotation here. Nothing crazy, pretty much minor, but you can get a spin up tornado within seconds just because of how intense these outer bands are. These outer bands are so strong right now. They've just been constantly producing tornadoes and just popping off tornado warnings. But you can see, I mean, onshore we're still experiencing really strong winds. I mean, this is the Tampa radar, so this could be a little bit elevated, but still, you're talking about winds that are at least 60, getting up to 70, with gusts up to potentially even 80 miles per hour. So a really just dangerous hurricane that is currently moving onshore, and it's expected to make landfall tomorrow. But we're already seeing really big time impacts on the western coast of Florida, and conditions are just going to go downhill from there. So that's all I got for you guys. Thank you all for coming to watch. I'll see you guys in the next video. So just stay safe out there. If you're not leaving, I wish you the best of luck. I don't mean to sound dramatic or anything, but please just please, even if you don't think anything's gonna happen, if you think it's just something that's minor, if you see anything that's like hazardous or whatever, just please, just do it. All right, you don't want to risk your life, all right, because this hurricane is dangerous enough where if there's one thing wrong with your house, with anything hazardous or whatever, and you spot it and you don't do anything about it, all right, then eventually that could actually seriously put your life at stake. So you really just want to make actions, make smart ones. If you have enough time to evacuate and you have a legitimate a legitimate reason to, then please do so. All right, I encourage you to, because you want to stay safe more than being in danger, but also making it through, if that makes sense. So please just stay safe out there. And I will see you guys next video.